Welcome to the Vermont Dog Trainer Show, your common sense, down-to-earth advisor on all things dog training. Here's your host, Ian Grant.
Kat, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I will. What am I doing? One question? Is that my? Okay.
Yeah, we'll do one question at a time. Make our rounds.
Yeah. So I want to ask because I've heard you talk about it, and it was in one of your posts, and I was presented with this situation last week, but we were able to avoid it. So one of my family members was coming into town, and they have the dog, and there was a question of, oh, can we come stay with you? And I just wasn't ready to take that on. Unfortunately, we're in a position where we didn't have to, there were alternative options for it. And so you've done you've done a post about, how other dogs can meet. And but I'd actually love some tips because I would like to do that at some point in time in my life. And just for the history of my dogs who are, one in particular who is kind of neighborhood sensitive, that's where his hot
good
spot
word.
is.
That's a good term.
And so it's not only about the house, because I know you've said, oh, take them for a walk together first. And I was like, well, even taking them for a walk together in the neighborhood might not be the first step is. So that's my question is how would I back into that situation?
So this is friends that are staying with you that have a dog then?
Well, they asked to. And like I said, this wasn't like they had to because they had alternatives. We're traveling through the area with our dog. We could spend the night with you guys for a night. And I was like, I just really don't think that's a good idea. I'm really not ready for it.
I mean, in your situation right now, that is a 100% of the time management situation.
Right.
Which is to be understood. I mean, I think that's a lot to ask of our dogs to have another dog come in, unless they grew up that way. It would be a lot to ask our dogs to welcome another dog in overnight. You got food around and water and resources and all that kind of stuff. So is your question is how you would work into it then?
Yeah, I guess, without, it's not only let's back away from the spending the night, because I agree that's a big thing to just show up and be like, hey, my dog's, even if they were to stop by, let's say for lunch and be like, oh, the dog's going to be around for a couple hours. Yes, I could have them put into the basement or something like that and put up the baby gate. So even that would be pretty exciting
barricades,
how do I start backing into just even other dogs being in our space, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, I would. So definitely I would do the walk first to start out with. In your situation, I would drain energy first. So I would take them for a walk, your dogs first, take them for a walk or a play session, whatever you got to do to drain energy. That's before your friends arrive with their dog. Yeah. And then when they get there, go for another walk, with them, drain even more energy. And then when you return to the house, I would anchor all of them within the same vicinity to something that they cannot move. Right. And you've got a couple of strong dogs, so it's going to have to be something pretty substantial for them to, not be able to move and such. But I would want to create this coexistence of all dogs and all humans in the same area, but they're anchored and they are just not able to reach each other. Okay. You're not going to, a day is not a long time to achieve a heck of a lot, but what you could achieve is just starting to set the routine for future visits for everybody involved, dogs and humans.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of my thing before, and it was my thought behind, okay, well, this is possible because they have another place to stay. But I'm like, oh God, what if something happened? And I really, not that I want to kick somebody out, but I did need to help somebody out or something like that. I want I don't want to be no dogs ever at our house ever. Because I feel like there's a way to do this. But I have to approach it carefully.
Gracefully.
Would you, and sorry, I'm just going to take it. There's only a couple of us here. So, when the dog, so take them for a walk first. I get that. When the other dog came, would you take them, all three of them, for a walk first? Because sometimes,
Absolutely.
well, it just, my only thought is, it's like sometimes Remy does better on, the Remy and Reggie do better on their own. And so not to leave one out, but
If
okay.
you can put in the time, Kat, to do one at a time, I mean, it doesn't hurt anything. Not at
Yeah.
all. I mean, I would, especially like, I mean, let's say you're by yourself, then yeah, I would
Right.
definitely leave one at home and then you're going to do separate walks. And then the guest dog is going to go for two walks, you
Yeah.
know, but still the whole anchoring thing has to go down and nobody's off leash. Nobody's romping around free. Like none of that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I mean, not to, it's not, I mean, and we're not saying this, but not to throw anybody but under the bus, but part of me was a little worried. It's like, it's a puppy, it's 9 months old, and I don't necessarily think the owners take it as seriously as I do. And I was like, it's just not. That's why I learned. I was like, no, there's no.
Yeah. And then, and so to kind of piggyback on that, that's where we need everybody to be in agreement as far as what the goal is, you know? Um, and so that's probably a conversation ahead of time to be
Yeah.
like, hey, you know, I mean, obviously if they know you and they know the dogs and stuff, they're probably aware of things. And so I think it's just working together towards a common goal, which the goal can be as simple as they just coexist. They don't have to play. They don't have to go nose to nose or nose to butt. Like they just have to coexist. And if you can get that to happen in a 24-hour period, then so be it. But if one of them lunges at somebody else, it's not the end of the world. We just have to recover from that and make sure that we get back to a place of coexistence before we separate. You know,
Yeah.
most people with the spat, they separate immediately, and that's where the mistake happens.
Right. I remember you talking about that with, there was way back when, in a call with somebody who had had that, and they were at a training course or sent recovery class or something like that. And they're like, oh, we
Yeah.
just went home. And you being like, no, 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 no. What you needed to do was have them kind of like hang out in the same area and have them recover together. Uh,
Yeah.
so that when they take away from it, it's a recovery they're taking away, not the like negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I think, yeah, recovery is always important, right? For us and for dogs, no matter our mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Good.
I mean, I'll stop there. And I mean, if we cycle back through, but,
Yeah. We'll have
like I
time to
said,
come back through.
yeah, I just said, like I said, it wasn't, I was like, I don't know. I'm not ready for this. I'm not going to take this on. So I could avoid it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
don't want to do that forever.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. All
Thank you.
right. You're welcome. Tiffany, go ahead. And Tiffany, what week are you in right now? 6?
I will get six on Thursday.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So you're week 5. All right. Fill me
Yeah,
in. How's it going?
going well. I mean, I have a lot to learn about the whole posted up thing.
Yeah. That's okay.
It's fun. I mean, so I know that you addressed this in your videos as far as, but it's not real clear to me. Please forgive me for being
Well,
ignorant.
no,
But
this is the place to get into the detail and dig in. So please do.
so you talk in the video about when they naturally just sit, and Vader does that quite often. Sometimes it's
Okay.
awkward if there's a lot of distraction, but I guess I'm thinking long term. Under what conditions would I have her post up, or do we post up? Let me rephrase. Um, and because I want to know the why in all of this. I'm doing the action,
Okay.
not very gracefully, but we're doing the
Yeah.
action. But I want to know, what is this looking like in the long term? Is this developing into something else, or is it
Yeah.
this is a trait that we will, or a skill we will always do? Does
Great.
that make
You're the
sense?
first person to ever ask me this question about that video. So I appreciate this.
Okay.
For me, what I want to create are expectations to start with. And so by posting up, which is for anybody listening, is just putting our dog into a sit, basically, with leash tension and a touch on the butt here. And so I want to create expectations of when I get to the end of a sidewalk and get ready to cross the street, I'm going to put you into this position. I feel like giving this extra layer of direction allows our dogs to understand our expectations clearer. Meaning, when they feel this certain combination of leash pressure and a touch, then this is what's expected. And because you're creating a pattern of this, you're not always going to need the leash pressure and the touch, because the expectations are there, is that when you come to a stop, that this is what you get. I often find for dogs that are nervous or scared, which is really, when I first started putting this program together, I was kind of gearing it towards that kind of a dog. And so for sometimes a nervous or scared dog, they need clear, concise directions so they know what to understand, because a lot of that nervousness comes from not knowing what to expect and always feeling like it was always on their, it was always up to them to make all the decisions when they didn't have the skill to do it. Now, as we go through this program and I'm doing it with my clients, even the dog, so, nervous or scared dog is always moving back, right? Both mentally and physically. And then I look at it, and through the process of dealing with a lot of clients with forward dogs, meaning excited and physically moving forward, creating expectations of what you want, which is like a posting up thing, helps clarify rules and boundaries. So for the dogs that become more forward, this creates the rules and boundaries of, I need you to stay more neutral. For the dogs that are nervous or scared, this creates the, hey, we're okay. I'm just going to give you an extra layer of direction, and this is all I need. So it doesn't add more stress onto that scared or nervous dog. Does that resonate?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I've noticed that and since we've started this practice, this morning we went on a walk, 30 minutes, no pulling. I mean,
amazing.
Forward, no pulling. There was a lot of sniffing, but she recovered. But there was, it didn't even look remotely close to what it has in the past. Yep. So I can see that there was a transfer of understanding of those boundaries. So
yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is great. You're welcome. I also think the combination of people walking their dog and allowing them to sniff, but they also want their dogs at their side. They let both happen at the same time, or they want both to happen at the same time, when it can be very difficult for the dog, because they're in explore mode, which explore can lead to hunt, and then hunt can lead to chase. Some dogs can handle just the explore mode and be good with that. Other dogs cannot handle exploring because it gets them too intense. So, for having a young dog, perfect to just create all the layers of expectations early on, makes it easier for you.
Yeah. And I'm all about, we're here on a purpose. We're walking. We're not sniffing. We're walking.
Yeah. But also don't be afraid to allow the dog a couple of minutes, like stop somewhere and then let the dog go and sniff and, fulfill their needs, desires, and such that way. But you always want to start and end with structure as much as we can. And then in the middle can be reward or explore or time to be a dog.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. Hey, Tali. And Tali, what week are you in now?
I think I'm going to start 7 this week. I think that's what I'm getting this week.
Okay.
I'm still like in 6. I think I get my updates on Thursday, maybe.
Okay. So you're going into the dog psychology stuff.
So, and hopefully that'll help, because this leash stuff, I feel like the leash stuff is like the play stuff with her. Like, we're in remedial land here.
Okay.
Because she doesn't like that leash.
Okay.
Sometimes,
but she also doesn't like the harness either, right?
Well, the harness she didn't like at first, and now she likes it. Like, she understands when I go for the harness or her regular leash. Yeah, she's excited because we're going outside. Okay. When she sees that other leash, she either runs under the bed and I can't get her. Yeah. But one time she was totally sat there and let me put it on her, and then out of nowhere she did like the walk back and forward. She doesn't understand the sit as well. But I told you I had trouble trying to get her to sit previously, and I kind of gave up on it. Okay. but I can at least like put the slip leash on her and I can walk her back and forth. And she seemed to understand it. But then the next time she ran away and went under the bed. So it's been very inconsistent, but I'm not going to give up.
Yeah. And we certainly don't want to create a pattern of that either.
Of what?
Of the running away, the flight mode.
Of the running away. Yeah. And it's not like all the time. Like I'm having trouble feeling her out sometimes because she's like lately like I'm still working on when I leave the apartment, she's fine. When I come back, she's still very excited. And she does this thing where like she wants to go on a walk right away, even if I've only been gone for like 15 minutes. So she wants to go out when I come back into the apartment. Okay. So I'll take her out. But she's like, that little dog, she's not that big, but she's like pulling me and like racing out the door as soon as I get back. And I don't remember her doing that before, like when we had the crate and when we were doing other things. But now the only time she's like pulling me like that is when I come back, like after I've been gone for a while and I come back and then she's like pulling me out the door. Like, and so I was like, oh, maybe she really has to go. But as soon as she's outside, she's kind of like, oh, sweet, I'm outside and I'm going to like sniff around everything. And
I got to where I needed to go. Right.
Yeah. And so I've now had her. So it's now been 8 weeks that she's been with me. So she's now been with me finally longer than she was with the foster mom. And I definitely feel like, if you remember, like, I feel like we're night and day from where she was when I started with you. Cause I think I started with you like 2 weeks into her to having her. And
huge changes.
She's huge changes. But like, I also like, it's just like the walking and the leash stuff. Like, I figured this would be the harder part. Like now that we've gotten past the leaving and coming, like I'm still working on that. I'm still doing what you said. Like I take a step towards her when she's jumpy. And I do think she calms down faster, but she's still a little crazy when I come home.
So here's the thing too, is I don't want, and I know you don't either. We don't need the robot when we get home. We still
but I don't like the jumping.
Yes. Yeah. So all I would do is if she jumps on you, you just take a very gentle step towards her, like it sounds like you've been doing. So after you do that, Tali, what are you doing in the next 2 seconds after you do that?
I'm trying to step back because I've stepped forward. So I kind of step back, but then she's jumping up again.
So, and this is the reason why I want to pinpoint this. So I would step forward, and for you, I would just hold your ground there for a second.
Okay.
Okay. So hold it there for a little bit longer than when you have been.
Okay.
And then I would just take like a half a step back, and I would do it slowly. Because sometimes and I'm not saying this because I just had this picture in my head that you took your step forward and then you took your step back. Mm-hmm. And if we tend to do this with a little bit of speed, it can be an actual invitation for our dog.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. Like if you ever like look at your dog and you kind of make them eye contact and they're kind of like, what's going on? If you kind of bend down and back up away from them, typically that's an invitation, you know? And so for dogs, when they play with each other, if they're starting to feel each other out, if you think about the play bow, what happens? Their head goes down and their butt goes up. And this usually is like a half a step back, which is this is an invitation to come into my space so we can play. You know, so when you take that step back, just make it a little bit slower. That's all.
Yeah. And I've been working in general, like on slowing myself down. Cause I know, when I lived alone, I told you I was very regimented with my schedule. I was in and out. And like, sometimes people said that I just move fast. So I've been trying to be a lot more conscious about being more mindful of my pacing.
Yep. Good for you.
But I can definitely work on that. But you mentioned something. I have a question. She does like the downward dog, whatever. Yeah, she does this a lot. I've noticed that it's like a thing. Like before we go on most walks, before I put the harness on, she does her downward dog. And then she also seems like she yawns a lot. And I don't know if that's like a bad thing or a good thing or just not a thing. I don't know what it means.
So contextually, when you see a yawn during training or during some sort of interaction with your dog, it's usually them trying to figure things out, work their way through it. Some people call it stress, but we have to also understand that there's a positive stress and a negative stress.
Right.
You know, if you're just getting ready to put the harness on her before she goes out, she gives you a big stretch,
Yep.
and then a yawn, we're good. Like there's nothing negative that has come from this, so we can just go. But to me, there's interaction going on between the two of you. It's not necessarily training, but
Right.
it's an interaction. So
Like I haven't fought her. Once I got her into the harness world,
yeah,
I think she gets excited now because she knows she's going outside, and she
yeah.
does not fight me at all on the harness.
And what kind of harness is it? Does it go up her arms or does it have to go over her head?
It's like just a little one. So just her head goes through. I tried a different one that was more fitted around here that you pulled over. That she did not like that. So this one I just like, it has like a little Velcro and like a snap.
Right. So you slide it up her legs and then it snaps behind her.
Yeah. So I get her to like come under and I put her 2 legs in and then I pull it up.
Okay. So this is what I want.
They're patiently waiting.
Perfect. All right. So let's backtrack for a second and go back to the slip leash thing. So what I want you to do is take the slip leash and throw it in your pocket and then go get the harness to get her linked up. You're going to walk out your door that way. And then when you get outside, that's when I want you to this is when you just go for your structured walk, right? Not like just going out to go to the bathroom thing.
Okay.
When you get out your apartment door, you're just going to take the slip leash. You're going to put it on her and maybe you'll give her a treat afterwards. So she knows that there's something positive. And then take the harness off right there, which is just going to be like a clip for you, right? Or on Velcro, right? She can walk out of it, take the harness, throw it in your pocket. You're off for your walk.
So you want me to take her outside of here with just the slip leash?
Yeah, you got to go. You got to do it at some point, right?
I don't know. I worry about choking her, because like when she
yeah. And that's 100% legitimate. Then before you do that, I need you to post a video of the leash handling inside your place then, so I can see what it looks like before we venture out.
Okay. I mean, only because like when she had the other, just like the collar before I got her into a harness, she would pull so much, not always, but sometimes pull enough, or like, when she stopped in middle of the street, which she still does, she would just stop. And then, I tried to pull on her, but then I would worry about pulling because it was just around her neck.
Yeah, which we don't want to cause any damage. We don't want to cause any issues. So placement of the leash, right? If you look back at that and it's way, way up high. So it's behind the ear and behind the jawbone. That way we're not putting any undue pressure on the trachea. So just post a video, Tali, of like 30 seconds. So camera wise, set it up so that you can walk away from it for about 20 feet, come back, put her into a post up or a sit, something like that for a second, hang for a second and do it again. And then just send me that clip.
Okay.
Just enough. You don't need, 10 minutes worth here. Just enough so I can see the back and forth a couple of times.
Okay. I can't usually get her to sit, but I can get her to turn around.
Okay. So just show me that process, what it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's go from there and we'll adjust to her, right? I mean, again, not all dogs are the same. So.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Kat, back to you.
Yeah, I see. This is why I love these calls because they always make me realize other things that are going on in my dog's life. Because I wanted to comment on Tiffany and my dogs as we've done this. I'm a grad, by the way, which we didn't mention before, because I have a dog who gets very, very involved in the sniff and will just start not a hunt mode, but just he'd be across the country. We do very structured walks, but we take sniff is actually a command for me now on a walk when it's okay for them to go ahead and sniff. So I can choose a place. I'll be walking, and then somewhere I'll be like, okay, sniff, and I'll let him sniff. He doesn't get to choose. It's not up to him. I choose the space and I can tell him when we're done. And that's been a nice way because I want them to have breaks too and enjoy their outs. But that has worked really, really well for us. Granted, it took us a while to get there, as I'm sure you know, but I'm just putting it out there.
Thank you for that.
I just want to comment on the stretch thing too, because Reggie has always, I have 2 dogs, Reggie and Remy. And they both do the stretch, like the downward dog, particularly like in the morning, which is very much of a stretch, but also when we go in for walks, and Remy started doing it too. And for me, I think what it's become is almost a signal. I mean, I feel like I do it. It's like when you're ready to go out for like a run or a good thing, it's almost that like, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like it's kind of like the shaking that out, not necessarily an invitation to play, but just kind of a positive getting there. Yeah. Feeling.
So here's the other way to look at it too. It can be almost like a muscular warm up.
Yeah.
Like, so sled dogs, when they get hooked and before they pull the anchor, whatever the fancy term is for it, they're actually like prancing in place, because they want to go, but this is also their way of warming up their muscles too. Cats do it as well, where they kind of get that, like, I'm getting ready to kind of pounce kind of thing. And so I think it's a way of dogs to, in that context, I think it's a way for them to kind of warm up their muscles and get ready to go too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what that's what it very much, I think, because I noticed him particularly doing it in the morning. So I'm like, yeah. And we walk our dogs in the morning. Like we get up and we go for a walk, like first thing in the morning. Yeah. We're always just kind of like rearranging and stretching and doing their big play bows. Yep. I'm going to shift gears completely. And quite a while ago, I remember there was a dog on here named Moose, and we were talking about nail clipping. And my dogs have always cut their nails pretty short, so we walk on the road quite a bit. But as we shift into winter, that will be, we start putting boots on and stuff. Remy's nails, pretty upright feet, pretty short toes. His nails generally stay pretty close, but he does have 2 claws. But Reggie's got the long toes, and in particular of them, and I've never been successful with them. And so I need to start working on that. How do I start working on it?
Has a groomer ever been able to do it?
Not that I know of. We had tried. I've never brought them to an actual groomer, but that we did ask them once at, or not terribly successfully, at their daycare if they could clip their nails on service. And we're like, oh, great. Can you just clip their nails? It did not look like they, he may have gotten a touch. And just for reference for this call, that my dogs are fairly big. They're American bullies, and one's 70 pounds, one's 60. So they're kind of stocky, strong.
Yeah. So what's the reaction? Can you even touch paws? Or
I can touch his feet. He loves having his feet rubbed, and I can actually pick him up and I can play with his toes and do all, like, I've worked on that. Okay. But the nail clipper, and I've actually even taken the nail clippers. I remember you talking to I can't remember her name. I don't remember the dog's name is Moose. I've kind of like done the clipper around him, and he doesn't love that, but he'll be okay with it. But when it touches his toe, he moves like lightning. That foot just looks like right out of my way.
And so what kind of context, what was he doing at the time that you were trying that?
We've done various different things. Like sometimes I'll just do it. Usually what I'm trying to do is just like standing in the living room with like not much else going around. I do the like lift it up and put it, behind and the back,
like a horse.
Like a horse, exactly. Yeah. And I've tried different ways of standing. So I'm like standing on his shoulder, over his shoulders. I've started turning him around. So he's back facing. So like I've tried it a lot of different ways. And like I said, I totally get the foot. He can lie in bed and I can maneuver his toes and tickle his paws.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about that for a second. So let's say he's standing on all fours next to you. You're kind of kneeling next to him or up against him, whatever. You reach down and grab one of his front feet. You pull it up backwards like you're going to shoe a horse. You got all those claws sitting there. You got the clippers in the other hand. And when you go, as soon as you touch the toe, is that when he's flinching?
Yeah. Yeah. And he can move so fast. And he, and he won't run away. He will run away from it, but he doesn't try to bite me. He doesn't, it's just the foot gets jerked. And it's just like,
have you tried the, like, having Mike spread a little, like, peanut butter on a plate thing? And so this is in front of him?
We haven't tried the peanut butter on a plate. We have done a lot of, like, a peanut butter. We've done a peanut butter on a spoon, or, like, trying to, like, put a treat in front of him. Uh-huh. And usually what happens is, like, we might get a little teeny clip in there, but then, nope, what you're doing now. And he's very food motivated, as you know. So it's not,
okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: as his finger, as his nail sits there, okay, and he's next to you. All I would do, I wouldn't get into the clipping yet. All I would do is touch his nail with the clippers, and then immediately reward in that moment.
Okay.
So I'm not going to try to clip yet. I want to get to the point where I can touch like 2 or 3 times, and he can stay there before I try the food. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to, in the beginning, either anchor him or, some people do this with their dogs in the tub because then they can smear the peanut butter on the wall and you can wash it off after, and it's not that big of a deal. Because sometimes you don't have enough hands,
Yeah.
I would almost try this from the perspective of, if you're just kind of snuggling with him at night or whatever, and the clippers are on the stand, I would grab the clippers and I would touch a nail, not while he's sleeping, just while you're like laying with each other. And then I would put the clippers down. If he looks up at you, that's when I would put something immediately in front of his nose to trigger his nose. Because we've gone from touch to him going, what the heck is that? And then we trigger the nose into more instinctual, and maybe it's a little bit different of a treat than what it normally is, or if it's something that he really, really loves. But I want to get his nose more involved, and maybe you can introduce something to him with his nose. If you were kneeling next to him, going back to my first, kind of setup suggestion, is trigger the nose first to get that going. I'm a big proponent over getting him to actually lick something, because it's not taking a hit of food, if you will, and it goes in the mouth and it's down and it's gone within 2 seconds. We can't stretch that out and make it last longer, So for me, I want that like longer time. I just ordered a couple of, I think they're called lickety sticks or something like that for dogs.
Okay.
Because it's something that they can, I think it's shelf stable, because it gives the dog something to lick for a certain amount of time. I was actually going to try it with reactive dogs. That was my little experiment to see, instead of trying to give them food and going here, 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 and becoming like an Uzi of a Pez dispenser while you're walking by a dog, here, lick this instead, and keep licking. So it becomes more prolonged experience rather than the quick hit experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And he can devour stuff. He loves peanut butter. I do. We're not there yet, but I do try to watch his calorie count because he's already a big boy, and it's
yeah.
He doesn't.
So Kat, I would try it a couple of different ways. One, when you're just hanging out with him and his energy level is literally, 1, just not sleeping.
Right.
And you just touch a nail and then immediately give him food. So he's like, didn't expect that. But, prior to that, I want you kind of touching his toes a little bit and his legs. So it's not like you've been petting him around the neck and then all of a sudden he feels a touch on the, back leg on his nail. So yeah, this is always literally a sensitive subject, just because all dogs are different that way,
Yeah.
I will tell you this. I had a trainer friend one time who had a harness that was connected to a pulley that went up, and it actually lifted the dog up off of the ground, fully supported his body, no issue. And her board and trains, she would include that in the whole thing as like a nail trimming, and they'd all get like lifted up almost as high as her, 3 feet off, secured in, and she'd be able to go right around, bang, 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 all feet the whole way around, because they're more focused on the weightlessness, I think, than they are like the feet. So yeah.
Which is great. I just don't want it to be a big deal for her. And I think that's where I've been, because I have worked on his paws, because all dogs are, most animals are sensitive to his paws. Like I understand that. I like, I feel like I am at the point now where I'm like, I literally can like stick my hand in there and do all this stuff, but those nail clippers, man, nope, that's still no.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember, when in doubt, trigger the nose.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's see what happens with there.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. All right, Tiffany, back to you.
Thank you. I'm taking a 2-hour trip to go see the grandbabies in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
And I have to take Bader with me because it's a 2-hour one-way drive.
Okay.
I'm not leaving her, and it's a birthday party, so I'm not leaving her here. The setting is everybody brings their dogs, which is fine, and they seem to all coexist well.
Okay.
I don't know how frequently they're in that space. She's a puppy. I have some real hesitations. I just want to be prepared. Like,
okay,
do I put her in the garage? Do I in a kennel? Do I?
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. How many dogs do you think are going to be there?
Maybe 4.
Okay.
Aside from Bader.
Okay, so she makes 5. And then is this a fenced-in area or enclosed area of any sort?
There's people congregate outside and inside. They go between.
Okay. Any history of aggression with any of the dogs?
Not that I've ever seen. No.
Perfect. Okay. So we're still, this is like one of those pieces of paper where you're like, is this your answer? Yes. Okay, let's go over here. Is this your answer? Yes. Okay, let's go over here.
Flowcharts make me happy.
Yeah, flowchart. Exactly it. All right. Do these 4 get together on a regular basis of any sort, or 2 out of the 4 get together or anything like that?
No, it's family events when people from Phoenix go to Tucson.
Okay.
So it's like once every other month, maybe even longer.
Okay. So these 4 do know each other and have spent time together, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it's not like often, but it's not rare either.
Right. And I have introduced Bader to the dog that lives there.
Okay.
Bader was excited about seeing Bentley, who is 4 years old.
Yeah.
Same litter family. But Bentley was not excited, although tolerant.
Okay.
That's how that went. But that was several months ago.
And how old is that dog?
4 years.
Perfect. All right. So that's a good age. Any idea what the ages of the other dogs are, roughly?
I think they're about between 2 and maybe a year.
So. Okay. All right. So 4-year-old's good for Bader to hang out with, for sure. Mm-hmm. I would probably walk her in on a leash with everybody. Okay. And I know people like, if they ever listen to this about a dog park, everybody says, just take your dog off leash. Right. Mm-hmm. For me going into that setting, I'd probably walk her in on leash. Once everybody kind of starts sniffing, you're going to get an idea of, for some reason, I just picture her as twitchy, like excited. Would that be her in that way? Or is she very still, like the time that you brought her to meet the dog that lived there?
No, gosh, twitchy.
Twitchy in a good way, right? Like she's excited and she kind of gets this, like, moves her butt back and forth a couple times kind of quick, like excited that way.
Yeah, she can be that way for sure.
Yeah, okay.
She hasn't demonstrated that when we've gone to the farmer's market recently, but she can definitely be excited that way.
Yeah, yeah. So I would keep her on a leash for a second, just as a backup. There any like things that if you left her dragging a leash around that it would get caught on easily?
It's a pretty full space, not open. It's open, but lots of furniture. It's a birthday party for a child, so there's going to be lots of commotion. I think that it's the dynamic of the dogs and the commotion that I don't really know how to prepare to.
Yeah.
Like I have a lot of anxiety and I know that that's going to transfer over to her if I don't calm it down. So
yeah,
that's what I've learned from you.
Okay. So, all right. This is so typical of me. It's like you ask me a question, but I have 10 more questions before I can give you an answer.
Okay.
When you get there, is that going to be the party time right then and there? Or are you getting like a day early or something?
I'll get there. I can get there hours earlier. I mean, they're my
Okay.
grandchildren. I will step in.
Yeah. So Tiffany, I would definitely get there early then, because you don't want to
Okay.
bring Bader into all that intensity and excitement and all that kind of stuff, you know. Um, I don't know. I would want to also, when you get there after 2 hours, you might be a good idea to take her for a walk.
Okay.
You know, get her out of the
Yep.
car, let her sniff around, let her find a place to go to the bathroom, and then take her for a walk. I don't, drain a little bit of energy, and I'm sure she wants to stretch her legs a little bit. And then from there, now I'm guessing if you get there early, the only dog that's going to be there is the one that lives there, right? Not everybody else.
Right.
Perfect. Even better. So in that moment, once you've drained energy, bring her in to greet the other dog. And so what I would do, honestly, Tiffany, is that when I would get another leash, um, it can be super cheap. And what I would do is like get a 6 foot leash and just cut the handle off. Because the handle is, if anything's going to catch on anything, it's typically going to be the handle. So that's what I'm saying. Don't spend a lot of money. Just get something like, you don't care if it gets dirty. You don't care. You're going to cut the handle off. This is going to be like her dragger leash. You know
Got
what I
it.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because too often it goes from having the dog on leash, meeting another dog, to completely off leash. And so with Bader, with her age, it's just going to be the excitement that gets her into trouble, meaning she's just getting too excited and too intense. So you're going to want to grab a hold of the leash, or in some situations, just step on it first before you grab it to slow her down. I would keep that leash on her for a little while just to kind of help her. It might help her settle down because she's probably hasn't obviously done it there. So that'll be new to her. And then, I mean, honestly, as long as there's not the other three dogs don't come in all at the same time, I think it'd be better just to kind of do one at a time, that goes in between Bader and, you said it's Bentley, the dog that lives there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they
So
the gets kind of stagger in. So
perfect.
I can envision that, like, as hearing what you're saying, correct me where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
As they come in, it's an opportunity for me to say, hey, can we do an introduction, if you will?
Yeah.
Find a way to introduce the dogs one at a time. Is that
Yeah.
what I understand you to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And just like what I told Kat before, if anything is to go down negatively, Tiffany, we have to recover from that. Meaning, no, I don't foresee this, but I feel like I need to provide the information, is that if anything is to go down negatively, we address the dogs that are in the midst of it. We keep all dogs near each other, but not within reach of each other. We've got to let the energy settle back down. And then that's the time where you can be like, all right, we're going inside, or I brought the crate with me. I'm going to go put you in the crate because you need some downtime. But just separate when the energy comes down. Don't separate while the fight is immediately over,
Okay.
Yeah.
May I ask a follow-up question, or
Sure,
is
sure,
this
sure. Yeah, because
okay?
there's a lot of layers to this.
So we talk about energy level and watching, for that to increase, right?
Yeah.
Like, so physically, does that
Yeah.
look like legs up?
Yes, that's
Paws
typically,
up.
especially with a dog your age, your dog's age, that's a part of it. So to me, that's the first thing I want to make sure is all four on the floor. You may get a dog that's very like happy-go-lucky, and they mean no harm, where one paw may kind of come up just to touch another dog to be like, come on, let's play. That comes from reading dogs and knowing that there's no ill will, there's no trying to get on top of another dog, there's no that kind of stuff. So I'm okay with that kind of thing. There's just no chest bumping, there's no sparring, there's no mounting. Doesn't matter what part of the body, there's no mounting. Because some puppies will just do it right over another dog's head because they have no idea what they're doing. So I don't allow any of that. And if Bader does it, you go over, you grab the leash, you pull her off, you put her into a sit, you make some eye contact with her, you drop the leash, she gets to go back.
Excellent.
Yeah.
The good news is they're all taller than her. They're all bigger dogs than she is currently.
Okay, so that may actually create more of a jumping scenario and her getting off of 2 feet. Like May, obviously May, my little Frenchie, she's much shorter than Fitz and Gemma are, and so she will tend to get up on her back legs. She'll put her paws on their neck, and she's like licking their face. So for that, I allow that because her intention, there's nothing negative to that intention. She's just trying to get near their face. And if you think about it, puppy litters will do that to their mother. When the mother comes over, they're trying to find a way up to her mouth because that's where food is and, all sorts of scent and stuff. So it can be a natural thing. But so for that, then you just have to look at the intention of it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you for the
good
feedback.
question. You're welcome. Just the opposite of yours, Kat. Dog coming in. This is a dog. You're going to another dog's house. So that was your guest's point of view of going.
Nobody's inviting us over quite yet. So maybe we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a good balance.
Yes. Yeah, totally. We talked about it from the host point of view and now from the guest point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Tali, go ahead.
So this is a different kind of question.
Okay.
So Maya has allergies, and sometimes I have to give her like a pill from the vet, right? And at first she would take it with peanut butter because I was like, oh, all dogs love peanut butter. And at first she did that. Lately, she won't take it that way.
She's on to you.
She's on to me. And then on the 17th of every month, I have to give her that like heartworm, flea, tick pill, whatever. It's one pill. The first time I gave it to her, she ate it like candy.
Okay.
Last week, I put both pills I tried the peanut butter thing. She licked off all the peanut butter off both the pills, set the pills outside. So then I put them back in there. I tried crumbling the big one, every little piece, and then mixing it up again. Every little piece she took out and then put it on the rug. So it blended in with the rug. So at first I didn't see.
Look at her.
So then I put them back in and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Because at least like the monthly pill, she has to take that. Like, I know she has to take that. So I was like, what am I going to do? So then I waited till her next feeding and I gave her some wet food or whatever, like some wet food with the kibble.
Sure.
I broke it up, like meticulously broke it up and mixed it up again. And then it was all gone. But I'm trying to figure like, I don't know if there's a better way to do these things. Should I maybe just crumble it up all the time, like the monthly pill with like wet food? Like if anybody has suggestions, like I was like, are you kidding me? I felt like I was on a hidden camera show because she literally was like, oh, I'm going to have everything but that. And lately when I try to give her, occasionally I'll just try to give her a little peanut butter just to see if she'll eat it. And she's like hot and cold with it. Sometimes she's all into it. Other times not so much. So I don't know what else I could try and do when I have to give her a pill.
So first thing I would make sure is that it's a pill that it's okay to be broken up. So the reason I'm saying this is because Gemma actually has for a number of years, has some incontinence sometimes.
Okay.
And so she has to have a pill every morning, which helps prevent it. It's one of those pills that they say do not break up, that it needs to be whole.
Okay.
And I will tell you, if I take that and I drop it on the top of her meal for breakfast time, it gets shoved off to the side. Mm-hmm. And then I see it sitting in her dish after, which is insane to me that she can do that. If I drop it in, mix it up, down the hatch it goes. I never see it again. So yeah, dogs they're quite talented that way.
Well, yeah. And it's weird because I've given her like, cut up carrots, like, just as a treat, like a snack, like raw carrots.
Yeah.
She loves them. But then there were carrots mixed in with some of the wet stuff the other day. Yeah. She picked out every single carrot and like set it to the side. So I was like, okay, maybe she doesn't like a cooked carrot. Like I can't.
Yeah. It's like a kid with their veggies.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just like, it's like funny, but not funny because I know she has to have that monthly pill.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just.
Cheese is always an option, right? To put it inside some cheese.
Okay.
The pill. Some cold cuts of some sort when you put it inside of a meat, that can be an option. There are what are called pill pockets. Have you seen those before?
Yeah, I just feel like she's going to do the same thing where she's going to eat around the pill and then I'm just going to find the pieces.
Well, so here's the thing about the pill pocket, and I learned this from all these years of boarding and taking dogs in that needed medication, is if you get a pill pocket, what I would do, you literally put the pill in the pocket, and then I kind of form it all together. Almost like you know how you make a meatball out of like raw hamburger, unless you're vegetarian. Right. So you're literally squishing it all together. That's what I would do rather than just setting the pill in the pocket, so to speak.
Right.
You mush it all together to make it like this ball. So that's my first attempt. I'm not saying it's not impossible for her to chew down and go, oh, mom's trying to pull one over on me again. And
and I and the thing is, I was shocked because, you know, when I first got her, I told you she was very food motivated. But now I'm seeing that she's food specific and she's becoming a little bit more, you know, picky with like now, maybe because she's eating really good now. I don't know. She just seems to be like more choosy with what she likes.
Do you feed, what's her food? Is it dry food?
Well, so it's like, it's a natural food or whatever. It's like, doesn't have extra stuff in it. It's called Nulo. It's like, so I do give her like a dry kibble and then like 2 to 3 times a week. And with some of her meals, I add like some sort of like a packet of stuff that's just straight like meat or vegetables or not just vegetables, but some sort of protein that's like a softer thing. And then I mix it up.
Okay. And does she knock that down?
Oh yeah.
So
like it makes me wonder if I should give her more of that, but I don't know. She seems to be on a good regimen because I think I might've been over treating her. So I'm trying to be mindful of her not gaining too much weight. She looks like she's at a healthy place now, but I also have to give her food in the slow feeder because she was inhaling everything, not doing that as much.
Okay. Yeah. So you've created more of a routine, which is going to help slow that down. Okay. So, but does she finish her food or does it stay out, Tali?
Yeah. So that's interesting. So normally she finishes her food, but lately, like the other day, I was so tired. Like I took her out like for her walk before her food and then I gave her food, but then I went back into the bedroom to lay down. And so then she came into the bedroom. I said, no, you got to finish eating. But it's like she didn't want to go in the other room to eat since I wasn't in the room. And that was like a first time. And then she eventually, I was like, just go eat your food. But now I noticed that she wants me to be in the same room as her when she's.
Yeah. So we have to be super, super careful because otherwise they start to manipulate this situation.
Yeah.
See, we look at that and I can't tell you, Tali, how many clients I work with this type of situation, because typically as humans, this is our psychology that said, oh, in order for you to eat, I actually have to be in the same room with you. And some people go, oh, that's so sweet. And other people go, well, that's a big pain in the butt.
Well, I didn't actually go in the other room because I was so tired. And then the other time it happened, I was getting ready for work. And so I just looked at her and I pointed and I said, go eat your food. I'm right here. And so I didn't go into the room with her either time. And she did go and she does finish it all. She's never not finished all her food.
Okay.
Except for those pieces she picked out, you know?
Yeah. So all right, good. So I would always make sure if she doesn't ever eat, Tali, that's when I pick the food up.
Well, like to take it away from her?
Yes, I don't leave it down. As long as I only pull the food up when the dog is no longer engaged with it.
Okay.
So if you put the food down and you walked into another room and she doesn't eat, and let's say you were changing clothes or putting on a pair of shoes or whatever, if I go back out, I'm picking up that food and it's not going down until the next meal. So I want that dog to be tired and realize that I can walk into a different room while you eat. Because you don't want to create the following, like, she's got to keep track of you wherever you go. And you're more important than food.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
No, not in that moment.
So let me ask you, for the slow feeder, is that something that like she'll always use? Like, should I always keep her with the slow feeder? Or like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's really different than when I first got her. She was inhaling her food, and which is why I got the slow feeder. But now she seems like sometimes she takes out a few pieces and sets them on the ground and then goes back, eats a few different, like she moves her food around when she's eating it now sometimes. So But she eats all of it. So I don't know, like, is a slow feeder intended to always, like, am I supposed to use that always with her or just?
If she is eating slow enough where she picks the food up, puts it on the floor, grabs it, chews on it a little bit, goes back in the dish, grabs a little bit more, you don't need the slow feeder anymore.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you this question. What is in the term slow feeder? Slow. Why do we want to slow the dog down? Because they are going.
Like she was getting she's just going up, like eating too fast. And like that's bad for a lot of reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
So we create a product that creates a slower eating because the dog is eating physically too fast.
Mm-hmm.
If we have a dog's physical action that is going too fast for us, where is that at? Where's the source of that dog moving too fast physically? Where's the source of that coming from?
Anxiety. Their brain. Yeah.
So if the brain is going 100 miles an hour because they hear the food getting ready and they're super excited and this is the ritual that happens, the brain goes 100 miles an hour, the body is going to follow at 100 miles an hour. And so then what happens is the slow feeder gets filled with food and then it gets set on the floor and we tell our dog to wait. This is the runner at the starting line waiting for the gun to go off.
Mm-hmm.
And then we release the dog. So we've created all this anticipation with excitement.
Right.
And then we say, go ahead. And we've created a product to slow the dog down where everything else before that has led to us speeding the dog up.
Okay.
You see? So
I do. And when I first got her, I think I had told you when I first got her, she was like, doing this little dance and like following me around when I was preparing the food. But lately I've noticed in the past few weeks, she sits patiently by her food, where her food dish area is, and she waits. And she doesn't, it's rare that she now comes after me unless I'm like 1 minute late for feeding her. Otherwise, she kind of just waits at the food area. So that's different too. That's why I wasn't like.
So that's why the slow feeder that you're not like, because she slowed down mentally, she has slowed down physically during her eating time.
And that's good.
Yeah.
So then you think I can just trade out the slow feeder for a regular dish?
Try it tonight. What's the worst that's going to happen?
I mean, if she eats too fast, then I have my answer.
You have your answer either way, right? If she eats fast, you go, okay, her brain was going a little bit fast. What can I do tomorrow to help slow that down? And that's when you say, hey, Ian, what can I do tomorrow? Right? You post in the group and you say, hey, what can I do tomorrow? This is what happened tonight. Great.
Okay.
And my answer will be in relation to the information that you give me.
And I think I don't know if the other people ever feel this way, but I think sometimes I'm surprised that she's getting better, like faster than I anticipated with certain things. So I think I'm the problem, right? Like, because I'm thinking, no, she needs these certain steps, but really she's advancing past some of the steps. And I didn't expect that.
Yeah. But look at it this way. I heard this today on a podcast. I thought it was brilliant because it was what it was said. If you're making your decisions based on all of your knowledge and you have the right intentions, you are 100% right. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you're making your decisions based on the knowledge that you have and you're going against that knowledge and what is right, well, then you're wrong. So for me, when I hear somebody say that it's my fault, well, you're just doing everything based on your current level of dog training knowledge with the best of intentions. So it's not that you're wrong. You're just working with what you have. But obviously, because you're doing this and we get to talk about it, this is what makes your knowledge of dog training go up and up and up and up. And so does your dog's. Make sense?
Yeah.
So it's hard to hear somebody say it's my fault when your intention is 100% correct based on your current level of knowledge. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense?
It does. It does make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So try it without the slow feeder tonight.
Okay.
Post in the group. Let me know how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Kat, back to you.
Well, we are at the top of the hour, so I just want to make sure we're staying on that.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay, but I did want to comment on a couple of those things, Tali, because yes, it's totally. My dogs were both on slow feeders when I started. And they both are off of them now, and they eat right next to each other, and like it was a big like break in the process. But to your point about like sometimes there's like aha moments along the way. I had one about excitement and taking dogs for walks and realizing the routines. It's very same thing about like similar thing about food and eating. Like they get so hyped up and I put my sneakers on and they're bouncing around and doing all this crap and whatever. And I had this one instance where I got a phone call. I work from home and I had to take the phone call. I was all ready to go out. Like their collars were on the whole night. I had to go take the phone call. And by the time and then they whined and they whatever. But by the time I got off the phone call, I think, and I remember telling you about this, they were like totally over it because I kind of like had to wait it out. And then I put on their leash and walked out the door like it was no big deal. And it was like this aha moment to be like, oh my God, like all this stuff of my, them bouncing around and me putting on my shoes and, oh, wait, okay, we're going to go. Like you just kind of sort of like, And I was like, oh my God, I've got to break that pattern. I can break that pattern. And so the realization of it and to his point about where I was, like I had to think that way before I could actually break the patterns. Like you have to go through the process. And your brain, as with anything else, it's like learning math or learning a language, like you can't speak the whole thing at once. You have to learn this phrase and then this phrase. And then because you know those two phrases, now you can start having a little bit more of a conversation. And I just put that.
That's great.
But I don't actually have anything else for today, Ian. So
okay. So you're good.
I'm good.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right, Tali, anything else for you?
I had something, but now it fell out of my it can probably wait. I just feel like she is making really big strides. And I think so too. Point, Kat, like I think I'm also making big strides. And usually the lessons are for us, right? Slow down. That's for me. Like she's not going to slow 100%, down. 100%. Right?
It's like 90% for us.
Yeah. And I mean, it is like you weren't here when I started, but she was just like night and day. And I just want to share this one last thing I thought was really cool. I keep in touch with the foster mom and I keep her updated with pictures and she's like, oh my God, she looks so good because she had her when they found her on the street and she was like all night and day looking. And she's like, I can't believe it. She said, I was actually thinking I was going to stop fostering for a while, but then I keep getting all your pictures and Maya's doing so well. And then the next day she took in a new foster.
Wow.
And she said it was because she's like, you just proved to me that there's somebody out there for every dog and vice versa. And she was like, so I'm taking on another dog. And I was like, oh, that's like so great to hear.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I've been very happy with the program too, because it's like, I'm trying to work through all the steps, obviously, like everybody, but it's just, I'm trying to slow myself down in general. It's very hard. It's very hard.
See, I keep going back and forth between this being a 3-month program and it being maybe a 6-month program.
Yeah.
Just because I do want people to slow down but it's hard to convince somebody to slow down when our world is based on speed and that we want everything here and yesterday and now and
Yeah. And I think now I remember what I was going to ask you. It had to do with like her energy levels. I know I haven't taken that part. I've heard you guys talk about this with other people, but remember when I first got her, I was taking her out very frequently because her foster mom had a pet door me back quite a bit when I first got her.
Yep.
But now like she's going a lot longer stretches without having to go out. And I realized that sometimes when I thought she just wanted to go out, she just wanted me to like hang out or play for a few minutes. So I'm like understanding it. And yesterday, I wish I got it on camera. I was sitting in the other room and she has like a small stuffed thing that's this big, which she has been ignoring this whole time because, she's down with that lamb chop and her dog.
Yeah.
And she starts in with the lamb chop and then she saw the little dog thing or bear, whatever it is. I had put it into the crate because now I made the crate all cozy. So if she wants to go in, it's like a different association. And she crawled in there and she went to town on this little thing. And I was like, oh, she's growing up with her like little plane.
Yes.
It's so cute.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
I think too, like her energy, because you talked about this, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but we don't want to turn non-high energy dogs into high energy dogs or something like that. And I realized I think she's also used to, like, probably because she lived on the street for a while and who knows what's going on with her. Yeah. But she really does like to chill. And so I don't want to overwalk her and have her start getting to like high energy when I don't know that that's necessarily what she needs.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know if there's like a good number of time. Like my parents were like, why are you taking her out so many times? I'm like, well, we go out a lot, like, you know, but now I'm wondering if I'm taking her out still too many times a day. Cause it's still about like,
well, how many times are you going out with her?
Like at least 5, like around 5.
That's fine.
Right. But they're not all like like the one right before her meals, those 2 are longer walks because I'm trying to like and the other ones, they might just sometimes be like 15 minutes. Yeah. 10, 15 minutes. And they're mostly like, this is where I also struggle with the leash is she's a big sniffer. There's a lot to sniff. So like we never go on the same walk twice. I've never tried to take her on a structured walk yet because she's following her nose all over the place. Yeah. So I just kind of let her do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's bad.
So like right now, our backyard is fenced in and we have a sliding glass door to the backyard, leads to a deck, you know, then there's steps down off the deck into the backyard. We're getting our deck completely replaced this week.
Oh boy.
So the deck is gone. And so from our sliding door down to the ground is probably 6 feet. Well, guess what? Our dogs aren't going out back anymore while this is under construction. So now I'm just letting them out the front door into our yard so they can go to the bathroom. Easily doing it 5, 6, 7 times a day. Like just because we had done that before. And it's especially today's very nice for us here in Vermont. And so I want them to be outside. And I look at it to where their time outside is actually a little less because typically they'll just hang out in the fenced in area. But for us here right now, it's also hunting season. So I can't just let them out front and come back inside and take a call. Right. I'd have to be out there with them and then bring them back in and jump on some email or something. So I don't think you're letting her out too much at all.
Yeah. And I feel like it's good for both of us because I also work from home. So I'm sitting here at my desk all day. So I don't mind taking those calls, like even if it's just to get up and walk around. When I used to be in an office, I was walking around the building. I was like walking to the parking lot. Like there was just more walking. So I don't think, and I'm also like, I mean, this is for another time, but like, when we go into our winter where it's cold, like I'm worried about like tornado season and like when the weather gets too cold. But I was like, I've already been looking around. Like she can't obviously go to the bathroom in the hallways, but she likes to walk the hallways sometimes or the parking garage. So I'm like, well, I could at least take her in those places and then just take her out. Because I'm trying to think about it because she enjoys the walking.
Yeah, for sure. So, they're active, right? They got 4 legs because they're made to be walking a lot. So yeah. No, those are very creative ways to still keep her moving and keep her out of the weather.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I have for today. I'll do my homework and I'll get back to you.
Okay. Yeah. Take a little video of the leash stuff. You're just walking back and forth a couple of times.
Okay.
So I can see that. And then let me know about the feeding tonight and we'll adjust accordingly to it.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. All right.
Bye, guys.
Well, you ladies have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Ian.
All right. Bye.
Well, listen, baby. You can keep your pedigree family. This rescue dog is through with you.